everyone, Professor Z here. And behind me is a very expensive camera pedestal. It's important to know how to use this properly so we don't damage it and the camera on top of it. So we're going to go over the camera pedestal below and how to turn on the camera and everything like that, and the teleprompter as well, so that way you're ready to turn it on before class and shut it down after the shoot is over. So let's start with the most important thing. So right here, this is one of the most important things about the pedestal. When you're leaving it and when you first come to it, this is the first thing that you should be engaging with. This is the night lock. This prevents it from tilting forward or backwards when you're unattended. So if your other locks aren't on or the weight gets shifted around, we're not having a listing camera. To unlock it, there's a little metal piece right here. You push that down and now we can freely tilt the camera forward and backwards. So to get that to lock, usually this is a two-handed operation. I'll be pushing on this while tilting the camera one way or the other, and it will engage. And now the night lock is engaged again. We're going to unlock that to leave it free movements for the rest of this tutorial. While we're over here, I'm also going to point out these two locks right here. These are your pan and tilt locks. So once you have a shot locked in and you want that shot and someone says lock it off, you can push these down. So look, we can push down the tilt lock and the pan lock. You can do one at a time or do them both. Again, this is for if you want to lock off a shot. You know, you got your shot, you want to lock it off and keep it there while you go take a coffee break or whatever and not lose it. So these are your pan and tilt locks. These are not what you want to leave on when leaving the camera for overnight. These are just during the shooting time. Again, your night lock is where you should be turning on or walking away from the camera for an extended period of time. Here we are on the other side of the pan tilt head on the pedestal. These are drag controls for your panning and your tilting. If you find that when you're moving the camera either left, right, or up, down, that it's too hard to move, you want to turn these down lower to a lower number. If you find that it's too easy to move, you might want to increase it so that way you have more resistance. These are going to be different for each camera setup and each individual, so don't be afraid to adjust these if you need to before your shoot. On the front of each camera, we have both our teleprompter, which has a power button right there to turn on, and also a feedback monitor down here with its own power button. So before a shoot, you want to make sure you turn these on. You can see the teleprompter is not actually on right now, so we just have that blue screen. But we want to make sure these are on before we start recording. And at the end, make sure we come back and shut them off by hitting those power buttons. Now your next step is to actually turn the camera on once you're ready to work. Here on the left side of the camera, we have a little power button. It has a little door to protect it, so we're going to go ahead, slide open that door, and when we're in the studios, we're going to push it towards where it says CCU, because that's where it's getting its power from. And now we see we have the green light. The EXT means external power, so if we were out in the field and we were using external power sources, that's what we use. In the studio though, we're turning it towards the CCU. When we come back around to the back now, you can see it's already turned on. If the monitor is not turning on, make sure the power button for the monitor is on. It's okay to leave this in the on position when you shut off the main camera, because this also takes power from the camera as well. Now this monitor on top here can be adjusted as well for different height people. So we have knobs on the left and right here that we can use to adjust this up or down. So if you're a shorter person, you might want to tilt it down so that way you can see it while you're lower, or if you're taller, you're going to tilt it up higher. So make sure this is comfortable for you to look at. On the left side here, this is my left handle, and up here above it is a knob that turns. This is our focus control. So as I'm moving back and forth, we can see that this is changing the focus on the lens. This is a physical mechanical cable that's going up to the side here and to the side of the lens to actually control a knob, which is currently hidden. There it is back there. So it's actually controlling the lens itself. So when we move this, we're actually moving a piece on the lens itself to control our focus. So when we want to focus, we want to zoom all the way in on someone's face, focus in on them, and then zoom out. So speaking of zooming, on my right side here, we have a zoom control. It's a very simple rocker control. I can zoom in by pushing to the right or zoom out by pushing to the left. There's also, you'll see a couple other buttons on here. One thing on the side, we can adjust the rate of the control for the zoom. So if we want a slower zoom, we can always turn this down to where the S is and make the zoom rate slower. Or if we want a faster zoom, we can control it up. I prefer to keep it in the middle because that's the most common application. Now in the studio, communication is probably one of the most important things. Now as a camera op, I'm probably not going to be using my microphone too much. usually just before or after a shoot or during sets when we're readjusting things. But during actual recording, I can probably put this out of the way or up top so it's not in my way. So for controlling my use of my intercom system, first of all, this is where the intercom plugs in right here on the bottom here where it says Incom. That's short for intercom. And then on the back here, we have our call button, so I can always push the call and have an alert come up on the director's panel, or if they're calling me, this will be blinking. Down here, right here where it says talk, this is how we communicate. In the middle means it's off, which is where it should be most of the time. Typically I like to use the push to talk for a camera operator, so when I'm holding that down I'm talking, and when I let go it stops. In the up position, that means the microphone is just on all the time, which is not really ideal for a situation in the studio. So again, I like to keep it in the off position and just push down when I need to push to talk. We also have your volume levels right here, so if it's too loud or too quiet for you, this is where you would adjust it. Okay, now we're going down below the camera on the pedestal to its height adjustment, because all pedestals can go up and down. So below here, we have a couple things. There's actually two different stages. We have a lower stage down here and the upper stage that we use most often. Right here you can see this is a lock and it's currently engaged. If I want to adjust the top up and down, this needs to be disengaged first. And now I can easily push the pedestal up and down with not a lot of effort. There's a lot of pounds on top with this camera and teleprompter up there, but with the hydraulics in here it's pretty easy to do. And there's also a drag knob, so if it's too easy or if it's too hard, I might loosen that up, and now it's even easier to push. You want to make sure that drag is disengaged before you start moving it up and down too much, or else you might ruin it. Once it's in place, I might lock that back in if we're going to keep it the same height. Below that is the gray knob for the lower level. Now, we don't use that too much in here, but if we need to get higher, we can loosen this up and bring it up. One thing about this one, do not over tighten it. Over tightening it will break it, and then we have to bring these out for repair, and that's not cheap. Now we're down to the ground here, and here's our wheels. Each wheel has a lock, so we could engage the lock on a wheel, and now that's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty stationary. And this is something I can do with my foot. I don't have to come down here. I can just push down with my foot on there to lock it in place, and again with my foot to unlock it. And these guys right up here on all the wheels are actually directional locks. So I can lock my wheel in a certain direction. So when I get over top there, I can drop this down on top, and now the wheel will not move left or right anymore. It's going to stay in that direction. This is really key for if you want to do tracking shots with the pedestal cameras in the studio. Alright, so that's pretty much all the basics about the pedestal in the studio here. And now before we're done, guys, just make sure we lock it up and shut it off. So here we go. So don't forget, when you're done, shut off the teleprompters, shut off the confidence monitor, shut off the camera, put it in night lock, and then you're ready to walk away. And then someone else make sure they shut off the studio lights, lock everything up, and have a great day.